Welcome, everyone. My name is Tim Stewart. We're here today to talk about the secret to successful project delivery. With me, I have Kanisa Garvin from Sandalwood Engineering and Ergonomics. Welcome, Kanisa. Would you care to share a few words about yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Tim. Sure. Like Tim said, I'm a project manager for Sandalwood Engineering and Ergonomics. I've been doing managing engineering projects for about 10 years now. So I'm really excited to bring this little bit of knowledge to you guys today.
Thanks, Kanisa. Let's see. So with that, let's go ahead and get started on the topic here. Thank you, Kanisa. I'm really excited about this session because we're going to talk about something that's near every project leader, engineer, manager we all run into, which is how to actually deliver successfully when projects don't fit neatly into either an Agile approach or a Waterfall approach. So I'm looking forward to your thoughts on that.
Yeah, exactly. We've all been there. Projects start out looking either predictable and then change halfway through, or teams try to go agile only to realize the work isn't governed by contracts and compliance. So today we're going to challenge the idea that you have to pick one side or the other.
Excellent. The truth is, most of the projects that I've been on don't live at the extremes of being purely one way or purely the other. They live in that messy middle, right? Part unknown, part known, part planned, part evolving. And I think that's really where this conversation matters.
Right. So this is where today we're going to cover why pure Agile and pure Waterfall don't always deliver results, what a designed hybrid approach is and why it works, and then how to design your own hybrid approach and the 4-step tailoring blueprint to help you do so. First, let's define a little bit what Agile and Waterfall are for those that may not be as familiar.
Excellent.
So Waterfall is that linear phase-driven model for project management. Is define, design, build, test, deploy, where things are very stable, they're predictable, and sometimes the cost of change can be high. Agile is the other end of the spectrum, where it's iterative and adaptive, short cycles with constant feedback, small increments of value. It's very powerful when you're still learning or when you're still trying to figure out what the solution may be. Both are proven very great ways to manage a project if it fits, but because they excel under different conditions. And when we try to force either one into something where they don't belong, we get delay, headaches, unhappy teams, and we can't deliver the success we aim for.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I've been around long enough that the waterfall method was the default behavior for my early career and so forth. And then over the last 10, 15, 20 years, Agile really rose, and you have people that say that you have to do every single project as Agile and so forth. But
yeah, it became this shiny new toy that Agile works so well, let's be Agile and do Agile. And then a lot of teams went Agile in an environment that was still very waterfall in its governance. So you had extra meetings without that flexibility and power that Agile was meant to have.
So can you, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask if you could expand a little bit more where kind of the strengths and weaknesses are from where one struggles and the other one excels.
Yeah, so we talked about a little bit where they're work really well. Waterfall is very predictable in a very predictable environment. Agile is when you have more unknowns and you need that flexibility. But because of that, there's a lot of cases where they don't quite work out, and that kind of stumbles because for pure Waterfall, stumbles when change is high or delivery or discovery is required. As requirements evolve or things like that happen in the project may not be set up to be as flexible to account for those changes. Think of a customer portal that was perfectly planned 9 months ago and it launches exactly as designed, but the market and customer expectations have already moved on. For Agile, you have, what if you have hard external deadlines or regulatory dates, procurement or hardware that has to meet a more predictive method, and it can't handle the tight sprints or the constant changes. The hardware needs you to freeze, and so that it has a stable thing to build on. So neither approach is bad. It just works in the right context when it fits right. And they just struggle to operate effectively outside those natural habitats. And when that happens, it can be seen as a project delivery problem. But the reality is it's a project, approach design problem.
Yeah, so I think that, what I've seen is when people are really rigid about everything has to go according to, the PM book knowledge, or everything has to go according to, these agile methodologies and so forth. That's when I see people with that overly rigid approach really struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think that is?
Well, I think that is that projects are so unique, and trying to fit them in one form when you have different teams, you have different environments, even if you're making the same product, you have a bunch of variables that change throughout the project. So having a one size fit all solution of running a project when all the elements of the system are different, it may not fit, and you may not be able to deliver the success to the extent you want. So that's where, when those pure models don't fit, and you need a fit for purpose system that aligns process, cadence, governance, and the tools to the actual work that's being performed. And that's where the hybrid approach comes in.
Okay. Can you tell us more?
So we have the real issues, like we talked about, most projects live in this gray area in between. And really what Waterfall and Agile are PM methodologies. And Waterfall is a predictive approach. It's a predictive approach of a cadence to managing a project. And then you have Agile on the other end of the spectrum, which is a adaptive approach. So very high learning, and this is where you get your sprints and Agile and things like that. So Agile is a methodology that is an adaptive approach. But most projects kind of have a bit of both. So they live in this gray area. So what do? That's where hybrid comes in. So it's a project system that blends the adaptive and the predictive approaches so that you align the way of working with the project environment. It separates how we deliver from how we govern, allowing flexibility where discovery is needed and structure where predictability matters. So it's not half Agile, half Waterfall, but intentional design where we decide, what do we need to be predictive and what do we need to be adaptive for this project. It's not, the hybrid approach isn't this new third solution. It is, you need to fit it to your project.
Okay, so, makes sense. Let's see. Why is that a superior approach than being pure on either side?
Hybrid works because most real projects don't live at the extremes. They're not 100% Agile or Waterfall, and they're messy with parts that must stay fixed and some that must be evolved as the project goes on. With hybrid, you align delivery to the actual nature of the work. It also reduces risk earlier. Iterative cycles can surface usability, integration, or technical risk early on, while predictive governance keeps cost, schedule, and compliance visible. It aligns stakeholders. Teams can deliver value faster. Sponsors see tangible evidence, but the operations is still able to validate readiness before launch. So you have all these blending of approaches as long as they work for the project. It can also scale more naturally, where because it's not a one size fits all, if your team grows or the project grows, or now you're doing a bigger project, those tools and processes, you just tailor and scale those with it. The enhanced flexibility and avoid it, if you do it intentionally, it can avoid the worst parts of other approaches.
Okay. Do you have any information on kind of how much better this works?
So, in fact, I do. The PMI organization institute has the pulse of the profession that they release every year, and these are just some of the quotes and highlights from that. There's been a 50% increase in hybrid adoption since 2020, and agile and hybrid approaches result in higher success rates and greater benefits realization than traditional methods. The high performing organizations are overwhelmingly using hybrid and tailored delivery models. And this is because they're finding that it works. When you match the delivery method to the work, you do see you see more benefits, higher success rates. So, but the trick is to get these results, you need to tailor the project for its environment and the way it works. And without that intentional tailoring, you may not see these benefits and may even see adverse additional meetings that don't make decisions or that just that don't provide real benefit. So you have agile sprints and additional cadence without giving the teams the power to learn and grow. So really what it comes down to is tailoring. And this is the true secret of project success delivery, in my eyes, is the process of designing the project delivery approach based on the context of the project, the project objectives, team and stakeholders, governments, and environments to achieve desired outcome while maximizing value, costs, managing costs, and enhancing efficiency. So it's saying that if our team runs at such a pace where we have updates and things are changing daily, then a daily meeting makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if from yesterday morning to today, there's not much change, maybe it needs to be weekly. It's fitting those cadence to what goes on in the actual project and knowing that you can change and evolve it as the project goes on and adapt it to the unique context of the project.
Yeah, I'm really interested to find out more about how you go about that, and how you're kind of blending the best of both worlds, given the circumstances of the individual projects. So please continue.
All right. First, I put together just a helpful process, a tailoring blueprint to help anyone that has never tailored before or just wants kind of a step-by-step process to go through it. But the purpose of this is to design a project delivery system that aligns the way of working to the project environment and deliver deliver the project value reliably and effectively. So the easiest way is to kind of go through this process of assessing the project, designing the system, aligning the teams and tools and processes to that system, and then adapting it and evolving it as you go. So hybrid isn't just mixing, we'll take parts of Agile, we'll take parts of Waterfall and parts of this. It's intentionally designing the system and engineering the system to your way of working and to what the project needs.
Yeah, I mean, I find that word intention doing a lot of heavy lifting there. It's thinking it through and picking the parts that are applicable, really with that forethought of what the environment's going to be like, what the needs of the project are, and then picking those aspects to blend together with that intention in mind.
Yeah, at its core, it's system design. I have all these elements and I have all these processes and people and all these things that need to interact and work together to deliver this how do I guarantee that all those pieces interact in a way that we actually get there? So just to go over a little bit, a little bit of each of these steps to kind of help ground everybody and provide a little more context of, well, what do I actually do when I assess? So you want to assess the environment, like understand what needs control, what needs discovery, and analyze those factors that are involved in the project. What regulatory constraints do we have? Do we have remote teams? Do we have on-site work? How many suppliers and stakeholders? Is there internal cadence that we have to meet and manage? So it's really first assessing, what does this project need and what is its environment? What is the context in it? The context is which it's in. Then you'll go through and actually design that delivery system, work with the stakeholders, learn from past experiences, gather knowledge, but figure out a process and cadence and tools that work for that project. This is where that intentional part comes. And you can decide, okay, what do we need to run iteratively at a fast pace and still need to learn? And what needs to be more predictive and have a solid cadence and flow. And then what I think is the most important step is you have to align your teams, your people, your tools, and everything to this. Because if you don't, it doesn't matter. If you didn't teach everyone how to drive the car doesn't go anywhere. So you have to make sure everyone operates as a coherent system.
Does it take a little bit more from a PM role to ensure that as people are going through the process throughout the course of the project, that they understand what are the kind of rules for that portion of the project that they're currently engaged in and the tasks that they're performing?
Yeah, and I find that if you are including the team and getting that buy-in with the team and put in place processes that remove obstacles, that empower them, they'll tell you what works and what doesn't. And you will get that buy-in from your team, and without having to constantly remember to do this, because they understand the value of the process. They're not, why am I in this meeting? We have nothing to show you. We have nothing to represent. I'm a little further than I was yesterday. So when it's easy for the team to see the value of those decisions, it's really easy for them to show up.
So not just one-way communication for me as a project manager out to the team, but real engagement and a two-way conversation with the different members of the team.
Yes, and so it's working with the team and you have to understand where, especially if you've already implemented something and you already have a way of working, why is it working? Why is it not? If this doesn't provide you value, but it provides someone else value, maybe you need to explain that. Or you find out, oh, they're having to put the same information in 3 different places. So then you have that repetitive process, which is, any repetitive process is a loss of value in time, in your work time. So I feel like that's really where you need to involve the team in this process, because it is their core component of that system.
Excellent.
So, and then the last step is, it doesn't stop when you start the project, and it doesn't have to stop or not start. You can start midway, but you have to adapt and evolve your tailoring as you go. Projects evolve and have to adapt as issues come up, risks change, environments change, teams change. So you need to continually inspect and refine your process. If it's not working anymore, it's okay to change it. It's just you have to be intentional about it. And that is one thing I do want to bring up, is that tailoring mid-project instead of tailoring at the beginning of the project comes with extra risk mitigation that is necessary. So your team already has a way of working. Everyone already has expectations. You need to make sure that you understand the change impact that you're going to have. If you're like, cool, this new tool will save us time. You won't have to report in 3 places. You just need to report in 1. Well, you need to make sure that everyone involved knows how to use the system and can use the system and can access it. And so it's not just as simple as we're going to do it this new way and it's going to be great. You have to really get not only the team's buy-in too, but have that transition planned out. And when you tailor, and just because you tailored at the beginning of the project doesn't mean it was perfect in the beginning. You might encounter like, oh, well, we thought that would work and it's not. So don't be afraid to change it. And because you're going to create value and you're going to get more rapport from your team, changing something to a process that works, at least trying, if you do it properly with intent and, not just flip it overnight, but providing extra value for your team and giving time back to your team in their day and things like that can really advance the project.
And I think that's where that engagement really comes invaluable as well. So if the team feels like their voice has been heard throughout the process, because you have been listening to them and so forth, making these changes mid-project is going to be more easily accepted by people, because it's easier for you to let them know that, hey, this is something that we've heard from the team. We're making this adjustment because this was, had too much friction in terms of how it was going. And so we're shifting a little bit so that hopefully, things are easier as we go forward. If you've had that engagement, it's a lot easier for them to buy into that. One question I have at this point, though, is do all projects need to be tailored, or do some actually kind of fit those extremes?
Well, in my eyes, I believe we should tailor every project, but the degree of the tailoring, I think, scales with the project. Because every project is unique, it will have its own, kind of needs its own, at least to look at it and go, okay, yes, Waterfall does fit. If that is the furthest your intentional design goes, is okay, yes, we've looked at it, a Waterfall or an Agile methodology does work for our project. Great, that's all the tailoring you need. But if it doesn't, go further. And tailoring can scale with the project. For a small internal change, tailoring might mean trimming documentation and agreeing to a simplified cadence. For a multi-year regulated program, it's a real design exercise. What is our life cycle, our metrics going to look like, our tools and our processes? So and sometimes tailoring is just fitting the right tool for the right process or the right scale. If it's a small project, I don't need a fully detailed timeline for a week-long project. Unless we're hosting an event that has hour by hour schedules, then yeah, we need a timeline that's hour by hour.
Right.
It needs to scale with the project, the detail and the depth in which you go into your tools. And you can have a simplified list of risk for your project, for very small ones of, a simple install, okay? But for a large equipment install, you want to have a full risk matrix planned out and evaluated and stuff. So it also means tailoring the size of those tools for the project, and because making sure that what the team has to do creates value instead of takes away from it.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense. I mean, just at a basic level, part of my standard approach to project management then is once I get the project defined, the first step before I actually get going is just design the process, doing this tailoring step. And it may be that I go pure one way, pure the other way, but chances are I'll end up somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm. And even if it's just deciding how our meeting cadence rolls out, how demos are established, or our evidence is recorded. And it doesn't have to be, we need to engineer every little thing to it. It's just mean, okay, this team needs more meetings or needs a better tool to utilize like project, their tasks and things like that. So it really comes down to just intentional design.
Okay.
And a lot of people do this intuitively of, oh, this process, this tool doesn't work, so let's change it, or let's do it different. But the whole point is not trying to force it into one methodology, but choose what works right for you.
Sounds good. Looks like you've got kind of a summary up here.
Yep. So I just had a summary of the tailoring process blueprint, and then just to review what we talked about today, why pure Agile and pure Waterfall don't always deliver results. And we found that they can deliver results. They just need to be fit in the right project, in the right system to do so. We also learned that about the design hybrid approach and why it works. And then I took you through the four-step blueprint to assess, design, align, and adapt, and tailor your own projects.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kanisa. Do you have some contact information if people are interested in more details?
I do. I would love, feel free to reach out. I would love to hear if anyone has tailored their project in unusual ways that worked really well or didn't work really well, but went outside the box of the norm, besides just Agile and Waterfall, and found their home in that gray middle ground. So would love to hear from you guys.
Excellent. And to the audience, feel free to reach out to me as well. Tim at Visual Decisions, and my LinkedIn information is out there and so forth. So I can help connect to Kanisa and all the great resources at Sandalwood as well. So thank you very much, Kanisa. I really enjoyed the conversation. I think that I learned a lot, and so hopefully everyone else did as well.
Yeah, thank you for having me.